Hello. I'm here. Hang on, I need music. We go for these. Hi. There's no outfit. I lied. Ha 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 ha. You guys got baited. Bad fucking baited. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's here. It's here. I just I don't know. I wanted to surprise you guys with me. Hi, it's me. Also, do you guys want to do the typical Descent from the Heavens VTuber, or do you want me to go from the bottom up? Like, scroll down and go my way up. Barrett's here! No! Hi. Hi. Sorry, I'm not used to my feet, please. So you want me to go top down? End on the, do you want me to end on the toes or end on the horns? What do you want? Top to bottom? Okay, yeah, I could do that. Did the booba get a nerf? I don't know, did they? Hang on. No? No, I don't think so. I think that, I'm not gonna lie, I think they got a buff, actually. So you guys want top to bottom then? End on the toes? Okay, I can do that. I mean, it's atypical, right? Most VTubers do, like, here, I'll show it. They go, you know, they do, you know, ooh, scroll down, they do that. I can do the opposite, that's fine. Hang on. Let me get in position. Okay, you guys ready? You guys ready? Because I'm ready. Feast your eyes. A little bit of gold tip, just the tip, just a little bit. Hi, Tiana, you're just in time. Look at the jingle. Look at the jingle jangle. You had a dream about the fit? Didn't include this. You guys want to see a little something special? The mask comes off. What do you guys think? Anyway, let's put it back on. The lipstick, yeah, you guys probably couldn't see that with the little teaser. Anyway, let's keep going. Gold rings on the hair, yeah. What do you guys think of the little collar? Have to keep the little heart, you know. That's like a design. What's the word? It's a design feature that can't disappear. Look at it. It also jingle jangles. Hang on, I'm trying not to flash you guys with titties while I'm doing it. Anyway, I'm gonna try to zoom out on this one so you guys I don't get banned for it, because I ain't a giant VTuber. I'm not about to take a 3-day suspension because I show y'all some titty. Oh yeah. What do you think? Oh, mama, I agree. Johnny Bravo up in here. She bought all the titty XP. Maybe. They did get buff. They get bigger? Mm-hmm. Maybe a little bit. That black is nuts. Yeah. I busted. I lost. May I 6-7? Sure. Honestly, why not? Also, the physics also got a little more buff. I just want to admit that, like, completely, like, they just straight up got buffed. Anyway, I can zoom in now because I'm gonna go further down. Here's the skirt. Also got some nice physics attached to it, especially the little tassels. Also, I got weapons on this fucking outfit. You see these fingers? Like, damn. Look at this shit. I can fucking murder you if I wanted to. Like, goddamn. You piss me off, that shit's going right down your throat. Down your throat. Into your throat, I guess. Hang on. I like how this was not auto modded. This was specifically Twitch being like smart detection. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. You guys back in before they were just big and heavy. I mean, they're still big and heavy. And then last little bit. All right, get off the screen. Going between the legs, huh? I would too. I like the little bit of asymmetry in there. Just a little bit of asymmetry. You guys want feet? Hang on. I have a toggle for that, I'm pretty sure. Give me a second. I just forgot what the button is. Oh wait, I don't. Uh-oh. Don't do it for free? Oh, I'm not gonna do it for free. I thought I had a toggle for my other two outfits, just not this one. So yeah, that's what we got. What do you think? They gotta pay. I mean, I have it there. But I'm broke. There's channel points. Bow bow. I still think the best aspect legitimately is the makeup. It's very like subtle, but you know, it's there. Also, I got another upgrade, by the way. I go, blah. I can do the absolute freaky emote. There's gonna be a toggle too. I think I'm gonna do like the hair where you guys get to choose, because I'm not gonna lie, this outfit doesn't do well with my other outfit. You guys want proof? Bam. They don't work well. You want short hair? Fine. Where are they again? Also, everything else does work, so things that are automatic will still work, by the way. You guys want glasses? Bam. You guys want cat ears? Bam. Wild dragon kinda would. Also, hear me out. Headbands. If you guys want some new stuff, you guys might need to refresh your chat. But those of you that are subbed actually have two new emotes, 1.5 new emotes, one updated emote, one actually new emote for you guys. Yippee! You guys might be wondering, who's that little guy? You guys want some more? You guys want some more teasers, by the way?
Yes.
Looks good. Thank you. Little guy. Do you guys want to see the little guy? Well, a couple of previous models are saying, I mean, it can be both. Hang on, let me zoom out for you guys. That's me and Lauren. Nope. If you guys want to see the little guy, it's not me and Lore. It's you guys and Lore. It's the littlest guy. Look at him. I officially have like my own mascot, because Kumo was not it. That was just some, again, I explained it a couple months ago. Somebody just, like, the artist that made Kumo by email just gave it to me for free as an apology for being late on stuff. So I just have Kumo, but this is you guys. But the only thing I have right now is just that emote. Yippee! Yippee! And then there's also an updated emote that I got. Have fun. Anyway, you guys want to see some more art? I have some art to show you guys. Nobody be stupid with it, okay? Please. I love my emotes. I don't want people being stupid about them. People hate VTubers enough. Art, please? Okay. Bam, 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 bam. Your tummy ache, go. Anyway, go relax. Want to be stupid to be the funny? I mean, you guys can be stupid if you want, but please go easy on it. I'm sorry, Lear. Go do your thing. Anyway, we have the first. This might be a really big piece of art, by the way. Hang on, let me fix it. This is the first official art for this outfit. Let me get it right so it can fit on screen. No tentacles, please. Let me be sure it's the right one and not one that's gonna get me banned, because there's a couple variations of this. All right, should be good. Oh, bam! Pretty, it is. I love it. The IRL pog face I hit when I saw this. I busted too. Hello, pretty lady. Hello. This needs to be your PFP who made this. So, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. This was done. I'm gonna say their Twitter handle just because this is what they're named. Their Twitter handle is, and have an art done by them. Had art done by them recently, by the way. Momoyama_tits. Otherwise, they like going by Momoyama Kanechichi. Are those nipped? Nope. Absolutely not. In fact, the fact that you mentioned it means they're going away. So, they were the inspiration for this outfit 100%. If you guys remember, a year ago I got that the queen, the Pharaoh Queen outfit, right? Me and my artist used that as the inspiration for this. We just had to modify it because the other one had like side boob and middle boob and everything showing. So we just had to modify it a bit and make it a little bit more princess theme and less like dominatrix, I guess, if you want to think of it that way. So they are the one to thank for this this exact outfit. Pharaoh Queen needs a genie, right? Maybe. But I asked them if I could plug them, and yes, they said yes. I will post a link to them on Twitter and on Discord later, just as thanks, because again, they were the ones that kind of got this whole thing started. Because my whole idea was, I initially wanted like a Gerudo, like Zelda themed outfit, but then I mentioned just desert in general, and I'm like, oh, we go for this. Is it not safe for work? Yes, this person has 100% not safe for work art. Not entirely not safe for work, as you can kind of tell by this art. This art is not safe for work as much as you guys claim there's nipples there. There's not. It's just when you have titties that big, something's gonna happen. But there is not safe for work variants of this. Maybe I can post this later on Discord. I don't know. There might be one of the dairy variety. Anyway, you guys want some more art? We're not done yet. It's hard to make something safe for work when you have such big tits. I mean, it's kind of true, right? Like, no matter what you do, as long as you have big tits, like, unless they are just off frame, it's kind of hard for them not to, like, in good art, you know, look just delectable, as, you know, less the best way I can put it. Anyway, here we have some more art. This one has a little bit more of the princess vibes. I like to think this is inside my palace. You guys are begging for your lives, and I'm just like, pathetic. Here, if you guys want, I can zoom in a little bit. Whee! There you go. Let's go slowly. There's my artist watermark. I will give them credit in just a hot second. My Pharaoh kind of pyramidless, exactly. The smug face of royalty. That's literally the vibe I went with, by the way. Was like, you're on the throne, you're looking down on somebody, and you just know you're better. Because I'm just built different. This one was done via VGen by Maxima. Again, I will give these guys proper credit later on Discord and on Twitter, so feel free to take a look at that. Also, I need to give myself points for giving myself a sub. Give me a half second while you guys enjoy the art. Compared to us, it's you, kind of. I initially wanted to have the little guy in the corner, but it was a little bit outside of my budget, like at the time. Anyway, you guys want one more piece of art? Because I have one more. I need to make sure I downloaded it. Oh, where is it at? Oh my god, this one's even bigger. Girl, I mean, listen, I cooked with this, man. Trust me. Like, I could not afford, and I'd rather wait for my current emote artist to be open, which they weren't. So like, I couldn't get like emotes, I couldn't get like new screens or anything, which by the way, I want to. I'm just, you know, I didn't really have the money at the time. So the least I could do is get you guys some art to look at. This last one is, it's more subtle. And by subtle, I literally mean like subtle. And wha-bam! This one's more like character intro art, if that makes sense. Like if you're in like a visual novel, this is your profile art basically. Let me zoom in on this. Subtle as in there's not really any emotion behind it, if that makes sense. It's just a pose. Look at it! God, those wings are so beautiful. I love my wings so fucking much. I'm sorry. Ugh. Sorry. I've said this before and I've said it again. If you don't love your OC enough to want to, you know, go on a date with them, have sex with them, whatever your emotion might be toward them, you're not doing it right. Like straight up. Like you want to make a beautiful design. And if your design by beautiful is making something quote unquote hideous, like a monster, sure, okay. Yeah. Anyway, what do you guys think so far? I'm honestly all out of things to show now. Literally, I'm all out. Again, I never had too much. I just had that. Excuse me. I'll keep it more gorgeous. Thank you. One more art of my. Oh my god, it's hard. It's hard when you make a good-looking character because you want art. Anyway, this is what the subathon thing was initially going to be. I just did not want to spoil this art. So to remind you guys, I'm at 22 points right now. So we are on our way to picking a sound alert. By the way, hang on. I forgot to give you guys promotion. There we go. It's a very good looking design. Thank you. Appreciate it. So, I just activated a promotion for the rest of this stream. If you guys would like to gift subs, they will be 35% off packs of 5 or more. It will be just for tonight because I only have 48 hours per year that I can do. So I'm going to save them for when I'm actually live. I'm not just going to put all 48 in a row because, you know, that'd be a bunch of stuff just wasted essentially. Anyway, I don't know what else to say. How you guys doing? What do you guys think? Was it worth the wait? Because I've had this ready for like 2 months. I just wanted to save it for a time when I could actually stream with it for like a week. I need a fan. I have a fan on me right the hell now, so I agree with you. But besides that, honestly, the rest of today was gonna be starting. What's it called? I want to tribute to my dragon goddess. Excuse me, it's princess. Thank you very much. Your tributes are well documented. Go ahead. If you want a tribute, listen, it's 35% off if you get 5 or more. So go for it. So anyway, what I wanted to do for this week is do Sonic Adventure 2 100%. Like I just wanted to have fun. I wanted to chill. Why do you look at my goddess? Listen, it's fine. Hang on. I forgot I need to download Life Split. I don't have a timer because I want to see what I get for time. Anyway, you guys want to ask me anything? This is the perfect time. You guys can ask me anything for free. What's up? Ask it. Oh, by the way, this outfit was done by the same model artist that made the rest of my model, so wonderful. Uh-oh, I think my V2 ink got a spoiler. Somebody resubbed or subbed, one of the two. What happened? Well, that's new now. It's been there. It's just nobody really follows or subs, so yeah, doesn't really show up that often. My PC is being choppy. Yeah, it's not my PC. I am downloading something. It should be all fixed now. If I'm being choppy, let me know. But I was downloading something, so I think that's why. Yeah, my computer's not very, not my computer, my internet's not very fast. I have, and feel free to say oof when I say it, I have 50 megabytes download, 10 megabytes upload. This is like the minimum possible for streaming. It is rough. I make it work. I usually don't download things on stream because of it. I apologize. What happened? What the fuck? 1500 bits? Go, yeah. Relax. I think my thing didn't pop up though. That's fine. It happens. All right. By the way, bits do count for sub points because it's still money that you're spending. 1500 bits. That's 3 points. We are now at 25. And that means Pecunia, you get 3 more points. You're in 3rd place right now. That is so much. Thank you so much. Well, yeah. So now you guys can sorry, not both, but you guys can choose a channel point and redeem a new one. You guys are gonna get a chance to pick a new art commission, which I need to make these channels in the server like ASAP. And you guys can choose on a new sound alert, which again, everything is of your own choosing. Next thing we're up for in 5 sub points or 2500 bits, whichever one happens first. Mix and match as well. You guys get to make a tweet that I write. This one I will absolutely take anything for, like, you know, anything that's on stream I will 100% have to be TOS appropriate. But tweets, I don't care. You guys gonna make me sick of the craziest shit as long as it's not hateful of any kind. If we reach that, obviously. But yeah, thank you so much, Pecunia. I don't know what to say. I guess I give you a kiss. Oh wait, no, you're one point away from being added to my body. Speaking of, I need to add Red and Solaris back to my body. Hang on, I forgot to do that. Red gets on my horn. Looks so pretty. Thank you. Red gets 2 because he owns 2 parts of me. He also gets the tummy. I gotta leave the I'm gonna leave the belly button visible for the belly button fans. And then Solaris wanted to own specifically the right titty. Also, Pecunia, if you wanna post that resub, you might need to refresh your Twitch. I like little belly button. Oh wait, I'm missing one. Hang on. You just bought it again. Yeah, if you just did it, you might need to refresh your browser. There we go. All right. While we're just talking, I'm gonna boot up Sonic Adventure 2 to make sure it works. Give me a couple seconds. You guys can keep chatting. You guys can keep ogling me. You guys can keep saying whatever the hell you want as long as it was appropriate. Thank you very much. I saw the notification on my tits. I did not see the notification on screen, which means that technically it didn't happen. Hang on. No, it doesn't. It doesn't like this. Give me a second. Wait, hold on. I saw it again. Refresh your stream. See if it pops something up. Not your stream. The people that have what's the word? Oh my god, I forgot the word. Resubs. I didn't. Okay, hang on. I'll do it myself. Just I need to get another controller. Hang on. It doesn't like my PS5 Pro, so I'm gonna go to my Switch Pro, my old school ass Switch Pro. Oh, I think this is what I used before. Now that I think about it, I'll give you your points. Hang on. Hi, Marcus. Good comedian. Why isn't it working? Okay, it is working. Okay, we're good. This should work, I think. There we go, this should work. Okay, we should be good. I'm booting it up, my god. I realize I haven't booted this game up in a long time. That's why it's not showing up. Anyway, Pecunia, here, I'll give you your 1 point. Because you did resub, I saw it. We're down 26 points. And you get a sticky note. Where do you want it? I'll make it in a second, but just where do you want it? Oh god, it's a little loud for me. Oh god, the game's on, but it's loud. Oh shit, I lost my data. Oh no. I lost my save data. I know what, again, I haven't played this since my new PC, so. I want to tell you, I want it, but TOS, you want it on my crotch? Jesus Christ. And no one's gonna see it if you do that, you know? Left horn with blue marker? Sure. Okay, so looks like I don't think my child data saved because it looks like nothing got saved. Hang on, I gotta boot up Photoshop. Give me a second. But I'm guessing that's what you wanted, is the crotch. Because he's like, I was gonna see it. You could do it if you want. Like, good lord. Alright, I want different music now. Hey, it's still Sonic music, just different kind. You wanna go down like this? Listen. I know people too well. Me. Blue. Let me see. You're blue. Probably around here. Let me know if that's the right blue. What do you think? I think it's good. You want lighter? You want darker? What's up? You got 5 seconds. You voted? Okay. That's an ugly E. It's a fat bottom B. Trust me, I suck at using a mouse. Yeah, why did I want to put? Oh, I know why I wanted to put an E, because it sounds right. Technically, a lighter blue show better edition. Yeah, exactly. I wanted a lighter one, but I realized it didn't look that good. Pecunia. Hi. You fat bottom B? No, it was an E, not a B. Excuse me. That's not a good heart. Also need to make one up here. Go there, give you a heart. Give you a heart, give you an upside down heart. Otherwise known as titties. Give you a couple extra hearts. There you go. What do you think? I think it's good. I don't want you guys seeing my computer again like last time. You get titties? Yeah, everybody gets titties technically. Yeah, and then we shove it into VTube Studio. Give me a second. Where is it at? This one, this one. Sorry, this thing is a log. I'm not good at this. I'm a bad streamer. Excuse me. I'm one of the worst streamers ever. That's what I am. Also, I'm a little scared. I'm worried that because looks like my save data got deleted. I'm worried the custom child stuff I have wasn't saved, which is fine. I can probably fix it, but that just sucks because I had some really cute child stuff that I need to have set up before I have any fun with it. I'm your favorite streamer. Liar. I don't actually realize I don't want to cover the gold, so I'm gonna put you guys a little higher. There you go. Where the hell is this song from? I hear it in so many people's videos. Where is it from? Mystic Mansion? Is that a Sonic game? Alright. Guys, last chance. Get some words in. What's up? Last comments about the stuff before we focus on the gaming. The gaming wizard. You guys like the titties? Because I like the titties. I love you! What's the word? Mil R? Man, I love Rin. That's my only question. That's not much of a question now, is it? I'm sorry. I love that I can do the freaky thing now. Anyway, let's get the game in. I'll shut my music off. I might make myself a little bigger. Let me get the game on. We do this. Is it working? It should be working. It is working. Again, all of my data just exploded. I'm sorry. I want a timer on screen too, actually. Hang on. Where's my live split? Open your eyes up. Question. Might have an answer. How much for a night alone with me? Jesus. If you gotta ask, more than you can afford. Even this thing has an update. What the fuck? Hang on. I gotta find out what my start. Pause. Okay. Excuse me? Also, my Twitch thing exploded. Oh, I keep destroying my outfit. Hang on. I didn't realize what the hotkey was for it. I can fix these. What do you got? 10. What the fuck? What's wrong with you? Oh yeah. Why? Anyway, who got subs? A dead Gribby, Tactical got one, Claw, Enjoy, Walker got one. Oh, it's 5. You got 10 total. That's what it is. Oh my god, there's so much fucking happening. I'm getting overwhelmed. No, I'm trying to set up so fucking much right now. Okay. Okay. Oh my god. We just passed 30. I'm fucking sorry. You guys get to decide on a tweet for me. Oh my god. And now Pecunia, you get another piece of my body. What the fuck? Ruby, excuse me. You also get 5, thank you. Bluff Knight, Ganon, Maguro, Empress Nasa, and Jiggly Lily. I like that name. Thank you. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, we're getting more. We're getting more. Now Ruby, you earn. Left titty, fine. I fucking closed Photoshop. I gotta open it again for Ruby. I'm gonna put the music back on because I'm fucking lost. I'm just done. I'm just left titty. Okay, hang on. Level 3. Oh my god. Pecunia. Pecunia gets left titty. Right there. There you go. Ruby, do you want the green that's on your color here? There it is. Pink, please. Okay. You want like a hot pink, a normal pink? What's that kind of pink? Milky pink. Let me see what I can do. Like this. A little lighter. What do you think? That works. Alrighty. And then while I'm writing, oh, hang on. While I'm writing, where do you want it? This one's not gonna look as good because I have to fit the second part of your name. Maybe just call it Ruby. That's okay. You know what? Can I just leave it as Ruby? Because obviously the last half is a little too long for this to at least look readable. Ruby's fine. Thank you. Appreciate it. This art has a stanky leg. I'm sorry. Ruby. Give you the colon D. Couple hearts in there as well. Listen, everybody's gonna get hearts. It's just a matter of how many can I fit. Looks better over here, then down here. Earring? Okay. That's actually a pretty one, I'm not gonna lie. What do you think? I think that looks okay. I think that's alright. For not being good at me moving with the mouse and having wrist issues, I think that's pretty good. Okay, time to save. Ruby sticky note, and then we go. I love this song. Pecunia, are you okay? Are you okay? 10 gifted, thank you. Demon Ash, Lady Nicolette, Sandy Lightning, Mary JN, Tessrick, Andranime, that's a nice name. Nora, Serena, Little Howler Cat Lover, I like that name. Aquis, you got a nice paint job. Okay, Ruby, since you were first, right or left ear? Also, Pecunia, you get 2, not just 1, because you gifted 10 subs. Sorry, I gotta fix this. There we go. Pecunia, I am gonna deny that. I will accept your request, but I will deny that message. Thank you. By the way, for those who were wondering what he said, something along the lines of pussy. Ruby, as long as you know. I mean, of course I know. I want everybody to know. Fucking love this log. As long as it's on my ear, not anything else. There you go. Let me fix this too. Hang on. Give me a second. I will fix this to look more visually appealing. There you go. Eye goes behind the body. Like it looks like it belongs in my model. You want the other ear, Pecunia? You got it. Yes, 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 yes. Also, I think we're at a new record for hype train. Thank you. Also, I need to add 10 to the total. Now we're at 46. Pecunia, you are 100% in number one now with 20 points. Hey, Tribute, thank you. You really didn't need to. Like, legitimately, what the fuck? What's up with all you guys? The fuck are you guys doing? You guys like the outfit that fucking much? Yeah, do that, and then shift it back a little bit. That works. Have I seen you? No. You mean you didn't have to? I mean, nobody ever has to give me anything. There we go. You want one more? Fine. You want the pussy? You will get it, I guess. I don't know. Please don't clip that out of context. I want to give you a lot. Listen. If you guys want to be generous, feel free to. I'll make this like my sensor. Pecunia is my sensor. Thank you. Okay, anyway. So, let me pop up the fucking thing again because I forgot. What are we working on now? You gave me way too fucking much. Okay, so I haven't even started fucking playing. It's been an hour. Holy moly. We're at 46 points, which means as of now, from today specifically, we have unlocked a new sound alert from you guys. I will write whatever the fuck you guys want in a tweet. A week of punishment wheel, which I think will be next week. I think every half hour I'll spin a wheel and I'll give you guys the option to decide what is on it. What's this? Oh, Pecunia, this is you as an emote. That's you. That's you guys. Like, seriously, thank you. I was so flabbergasted. I couldn't even, like, try, if that makes sense. Like, I couldn't. I just... I didn't know what to say. Like, thank you guys so much. Anyway, we've unlocked the Lego hand cam, which I could do this week if I wanted to. And we also unlocked Hollow Knight 100%. Why is that on there? I don't know. Gives me a reason to play it. Like, forces me to play it for you guys. Next, in 4 points, count it, 4 points, I will play a game in Spanish with as much voice acting as I can give. There you go, Bacchus. So my choice was probably going to be a Pokemon game, so I can, like, I don't know, have something that definitely doesn't have voice acting, and I can learn a little bit about Pokemon in Spanish. What was I gonna say? Wait, the numbers don't add up. 18, 20, 45. The numbers don't add up. Oh, because I gifted a sub myself. That's why. I'm like, I'm off by 1. It's because I gifted a sub to Lyra today. Thank you guys so much. I don't know what to say. Like, it means the world to me. I haven't even started fucking playing. What's wrong with you guys? Like, thank you. Like, legitimately, thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. With all this love, by the way, we're 23 points sub points away from brand new emote slot, which would be both animated and normal. Get loved on. I need to have the get pregnant, but get it voiced up with get loved on. Anyway, if we actually get new emote slots, I will give you guys full control over them, because just I don't know, as a way of giving back to you guys. I don't know what else to say. Thank you. I'll probably get a little more emotional later on tonight, but for now we should get to gaming, shouldn't we? You record that for the sound alert if you want. It's gonna you're gonna have the fucking in the background. Like, if you guys want that as a sound alert, fine. But like, you guys can choose whatever the fuck you guys want. It doesn't have to be me. It could just be something funny. Anyway, we got gaming to play, and here's how this is gonna go. I need to make splits. Hang on. How do I? There we go. Man, you use your voice for it? I mean, you if you want. Also, don't use your e-boy voice. I know you got one. All guys have an e-boy voice. I just wanted to say that because I think it's funny. It's funny to think that all men are capable of an e-boy voice if they want to. Okay. If anything, it'd be a horny voice. Sure, I guess. Whatever you want. Anyway. So. Give me a second to post, rather add. Oh, excuse me. What's my e-girl voice then? I don't really have one. I don't really voice act at all. Oh, hang on. I have live split. I forgot I just didn't get rid of it. Bam! So, we are going to be running. And not running, but just doing it. All 100 emblems. Sorry, all 180 emblems. I should have splits, but I'm just going to put the timer on to make it tiny. We'll put that right there. Alright, so we're going to figure out how long it takes me to beat this game. 100%. From a fresh file, apparently, including Chow's. I might check to see if what's it called? If I can add the custom stuff that I had before, because I don't know if it's saved or not. It probably didn't, is my guess, but it might have. Anyway, let me know how the audio is. This is what I want to do, just because I don't know. I just want to have fun. I fucking love this game. Ba-ba-ba-ba. Hang on, I'm just checking some stuff. Okay, we are ready to begin. As always, let me know how the audio is.
Sigma Alpha 2 heading due
Is this
south over the
faster than usual? It is. What's going on? Hang on. Something's going on. I know what's happening, by the way. I can fix it really easily. Hang on. It was going double speed, and you want to know why? I'm not even kidding you. I know why this happened when I was playing. I think it was Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. The answer was a frame rate issue. I will relaunch the game. I have made the monitor that it's on run at 60 FPS, not at 120 like it was. And that should hopefully fix the problem. Keyword should, might not. All right, we will find out by running specifically the opening cutscene. Oh yeah, looks good. All right.
File select. Story select.
Let's run it again, and I will run the timer. Oh yeah, we're good.
Sigma Alpha 2 heading due south over the city.
Sorry, I have to move some things.
We're en route. Everything's
There
a
we
go.
This is Control Tower. We have you on radar.
This is one of the greatest cutscenes in ever in all history, by the way.
That's a 10-4. Cargo secured.
What the
on
Sigma?
board and...
What? The hedgehog is gone. He's taking out everyone aboard, and what in the world? What do you think you're doing? Get that hedgehog! Talk about a low-budget flight.
Talk about low-budget flights.
No food or movies. I'm out of here. I like running better. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna voice act all this. The baseline fucks. Yeah. How's the audio, by the way?
Yeah.
I might turn this up because it's fucking Studioscape. If you don't enjoy Studioscape, what's wrong with you? Oh yeah.
Suspect seen heading south. Block all major roads and capture the suspect.
Please voice act. I'll try to. My thing disappeared. I want to do this perfectly. Louder, but not louder. If as long as it's not louder than me, my controller disconnected. That's why I got a little scared.
Attention all units. Suspect
Is there lag?
south. Block all major roads.
Oh, I think I know what's happening. I think it's just the controller. The Steam input is kind of odd. Why did I need a surfboard? I don't know, because it's fun. Fucking hell. What's going on? Hang on. Oh god, it forced the game closed. Oh god. I will restart the timer. I guess I should just let it run. I think my Pro controller is just dead
Story
and
select.
dying. You're playing this at a farm. You have to be dragged to do farm activities. That's fair. Yeah, wait. I want to play this how I play it. I don't want to have my game struggle because I know what's going on. I just realized this thing has fucking drift. That's what's going on. I forgot this controller has fucking drift. Dang. Hang on, I can fix this. I can fix this. I can fix this. Friggin'. And by fixed, I mean literally fixed. I just plugged in my PS5 controller.
Attention all units. Suspect seen
Alright, we're good.
heading
I'll be
south.
fine. Now you will see how I play this game.
Capture the suspect.
To keep moving on. Oh, I'm not getting the shield. I hit this thing. Oh, maybe I will. Nice. Nope, I missed. No. I played this game way too much as a kid, so forgive me if I'm a little too good at it. My timer never started. Ah! I hate how loud the things are. The only thing I dislike about this port is how loud specifically the ring noises are. Oh yeah. Rainbow. Sorry, I don't want to sing over City Escape, like legitimately I don't want to. Alright, it's over. Anyway. This is... I would call this game one of my personal top 5s. I need rings because I have to buy a lot of shit. Okay.
Yes.
If I don't get an A rank, I will absolutely, I don't know, unalive myself in Minecraft. I got a B.
Piece of cake.
How did I fail? I was 200 points off, I can tell, but how did I fail? I guess I didn't get the gold beetle, that's probably why. Oozes nostalgia, it does. Alright, I need to see something. Fuck yeah, my custom stuff is off. That sucks. I'll take care of that off stream.
This game of tag is boring. I'm out.
Also, do you guys see that Fantasy Star thing in the back?
Decided to show up, eh?
You're too slow. I am. Sorry.
Bigfoot reporting to headquarters. Intruder has been located.
I apologize. I'm sorry for being slow. Shit.
This is Spider Troop Bigfoot. Bigfoot to headquarters. Over. We've engaged the enemy and request backup.
And it's over. I love these fights because, like, technically if you're a new player, it takes you like 2 minutes to finish that fight. But if you know, you could just jump. Yeah, 30 seconds. Also, the best cutscene.
What?
It all starts with this. A jewel containing the ultimate power. That's the Chaos Emerald. Now I know what's going on.
Now I know what's going on.
The government, oh sorry, military, the likes of you. So, where do you think you're going with that emerald? Say something, you fake hedgehog. Chaos Control. Whoa, he's fast. Hey, it's not his speed. He must be using the Chaos Emerald to warp.
He's fast. Hey, it's not his speed. He must be using the Chaos Emerald.
My name is Shadow. I'm the world's ultimate life form. I have no time for games. Farewell. Shadow, what is he? Sorry, I played this game too much as a kid. And as an adult. Just let it go.
Just let it go.
You don't know when to give up.
When to give up.
Do you? What are you talking about? That emerald's mine. You got that?
You got that?
I forgot this part. This is the one cutscene I don't probably have memorized.
That makes it very powerful.
What the? Stop, thief! Look who's calling who a thief. I think Eggman's lines are the one lines that I don't have memorized. Remember what I said about saying sorry too much? I don't know.
That's Dr. Eggman.
I'll just take it with me. Not if I can help it, something like that, right? It is! And she just orgasmed from that. And look what you did to my emerald.
I did that to prevent the Master Emerald from being
I
stolen,
love
idiot.
everybody's voice in this game. It sucks that you only got this voice for like
Your emerald.
2 games, I think. Maybe just 1 even. Maybe just this game.
I despise anyone who takes jewels from me. All the world's gems are mine to keep.
Yeah, we'll see about that, Batgirl.
God, I fucking love Knuckles' theme so much. I love all of it. I'm not kidding. All this game, the music in this game is great. This is Knuckles. It kicks some butt on Wild Canyon. Parakeet's over here, right? Sure enough is.
It's close to my left.
Just what I'm representing. Never seen a mic hat spit like a menace.
It's closer.
I missed. I can't see.
More left.
We're good. Also, yes, I have these relative position of these things memorized.
It's closer.
So forgive me again if I'm too good at this game.
Yeah.
I think it's funny how good I am at this. Because like I'm not really that good at video games, but like when it comes to Sonic Adventure 2, I am good at video games. Gonna be a quick playthrough? Maybe. It might take me 2 or 3 days. Honestly, what might take me a while if I don't get to fix the Chow Garden is Chow stuff.
Super strong. It's called
Prison Island.
I heard the news about it on satellite TV. I still can't believe that Sonic
We destroy military buildings and rob a bank.
Wait for me, okay, Sonic?
I'm on my way.
What?
What?
Hey, look, it's Amy.
And Eggman too.
Too.
What's Amy doing here? It doesn't matter. I have to help Amy because she's in danger. Tornado transformation. That's a very childlike thought. It's like she's in danger. I gotta help her. I have to help Amy because she's in danger. That's like so much of a child thought process, right? By the way, to win this is just spam the B button. And then the last hit, you kind of have to walk up to him because he turns around.
How's that?
Also, hi Lyra. Wow, 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 wow. How's it going?
This time I'll let you go.
But the next time we meet, you won't be so lucky. I love his voice, man. Thanks, Tails. You're choking on water. I'm sorry. You did it, but what are you doing here on this island? I should be asking that.
Asking that question.
Don't you know it's dangerous here? Yeah,
I know,
but I'm here to save my hero, Sonic. Again.
Hurry.
I know Eggman's up to no good again.
Okay. Stay here.
Sweet, sweet, yo, so sweet.
Don't leave without me. I want to
Sorry.
too.
You don't hear Amy's theme that often. I have to jam out to it. God, I just realized how much I memorized this game. I know spawn locations and everything. No, my rings! I don't need them. Hang on, it's getting a little loud. Gameplay is actually a tiny bit loud. Hang on. I'm gonna turn it down for you and for me, actually. It's really just the ring and the beeping noises that make the game a tiny bit too loud. I don't want to make you guys go deaf. That's the big thing. Wait, I forgot I have to get all of them a Chowkey. No way! How did that? I didn't hear him attacking. No! That sucks. Okay. Give it a second. Got them. I just realized this game gets a lot easier when you get their like super blaster with the like shockwave attack. Can I do this yet? Not yet, right? Yeah. I need his bazooka. This should be an A. Yeah.
I did it, Sonic!
I am. Oh no, I'm gonna have to replay City Escape. How awful. If only. Huh? Amy?
Huh?
Keep your voice down. Have no fear. Amy Rose is here.
Rose is here.
How did you get here?
How'd you get here?
Well, if you gotta know, caught a ride with Tails.
Well, if you gotta know, I caught a ride.
Are you sure you don't need my help?
Are you
It
sure
looks
you
like
don't
you
need
could
my
use
help?
it.
Looks like you could use it.
The only reason I'm in here is because of that fake hedgehog. You mean that black hedgehog? I don't like the way she said black. Did you see it? Where is it now? If I tell you, will you marry me? No way.
No way.
I thought I had you this time. God.
That black hedgehog came here
With Dr. Eggman.
So, Eggman's behind this, huh?
What's all that writing on the wall anyway? Did you write
Also, it's
that?
crazy to think about that if you're a kid, you don't realize that's the cell that Gerald is in when he's in the final cutscene and before he gets shot to death. Also, this is one stage where I actually like restarting it after getting the light shoes because it genuinely makes the run through the stage a little bit nicer. No, because of that one shortcut right there gives you so many points, makes it a lot easier for an A rank. So I just do a little quick run, get the light shoes, and then I restart. It got a little quieter now. Is it audible? Do you guys hear it? Do you guys get to jam out to the music or no? Little quieter? You guys want it a little quieter, or is it okay? Because I turned it down to be quieter. You like the music? All right, I can turn it up a little bit for you guys. Because I turned it down doubly, like I turned it down on OBS and on my computer. I'll turn it up a tiny bit. Just a little bit. Just for you guys. It should be good. The sound effects might be a little loud still, but the rest of it should be okay. always get this because it gives you a free 400 points, 500 points. Well, apologies. I forgot how to do the shortcut for this. There it is. That was actually a lot easier than I thought. A free 1,500 points instead of like 400 you usually get or something. And then I believe you spam the button to jump earlier? Yep. I remember speedrunning this this story. Do you guys remember when I speedran this? Because it was pretty fun.
Yes!
Oh yeah, easy 20k. I forget if A rank is in 18 or 19, but I way overshot it. Zooming. But only 4 emblems. This is going to take a while. I will not be getting quick emblems until I think I beat the story. Also because I'm watching the cutscenes. It's the cutscene. Phew. So far, so good. Hey, that's that blue hedgehog event of all places. I found you, faker. Faker? I think you're the fake hedgehog around here. You're comparing yourself to me? Ha! You're not even good enough to be my fake. I can't say both because obviously I can't speak in 2 different voices at once. She's so cute. Maybe. You mean Amy? Yeah, Amy's pretty cute. I'm the coolest. Yeah, he is.
I see. So you're not.
Not bad for an imposter. Do you know who I am? Well, do ya? Amy is pretty cute. Shadow, what are you doing? Hurry and get back here right now before the island blows up with you on it. There's a reason why I'm playing this game.
Hurry and get back here right now before the island blows up with you.
Blows up?
Blows up?
Listen, I just want a relaxing week, so I'm just playing a game I love and a game that I could probably finish in 3 or 4 days. I gotta get out of here. Find Amy and Tails right away. I love all, I'm not even kidding, I love every single song in this game. I think the only song I might not love in this game is like Mad Space, probably, like legitimately. Like, I still like it, it's not bad, but it's probably like one of the ones that I don't love. A lot of people hate the stage. I don't mind the stage because I can actually read backwards, unlike other people. I gotta get the ancient light, don't forget. It's not useful, but, you know, it is an item to get. Oh god, what the fuck? Why am I up here now? Well, I'm up. I guess I live here now. Like, please, like, listen to me. I appreciate you wanting to style on people, but please just listen. Also, here's where you can get the Loch Ness Monster to remove animal parts. Right there, the area I just passed before the spring. It's a few seconds off the clock. Yeah, unfortunately. To be, I don't think I'm gonna get a B out of that. It is possible. I don't usually fail B because of time. Usually I fail it because like I don't defeat enough enemies for points, not getting the time bonus. Also, this one's made a little easier by having the bounce bracelet from Pyramid Cave. I could still get an A, I'm not 100% on it, but it's just a matter of, can I be fast enough? And also, can I get this grind without slowing down, because that gives you points too. This one usually depends on how fast you are. Got it. Oh wait, I think I went too fast. I didn't get any bonus points. I usually if you get one of those springs fast enough, you get bonus points for it. I think I get a B because of that. Oh my god, a C. Yeah, that one was bad. I don't think I've ever gotten a C on that stage, like ever since I knew how to play it. Ooh. I'll redo that stage and I'll show you guys what I mean. Hang on. I'm even gonna put Aquatic Mine on hold, or Pumpkin Hill. Pumpkin Hill first, then Aquatic Mine. I'm gonna put Pumpkin Hill on hold to kind of show you guys what I mean. I don't want. This place sure feels haunted.
This place sure feels haunted.
No time to lose.
There's no time to lose.
Gotta hurry and find a Master Emerald. The reason why I'm putting this on hold is because I want to fucking sing that song. Hang on. Green Forest. I can't leave a C going. We have Pumpkin Hill. You ready? Okay. Let me take a different path this time. Unfortunately, Pumpkin Hill's gonna be over in like literally 45-50 seconds depending on what I get. If it wants me to kill enemies, I'll kill enemies. God. What happened? Like legitimately. It could not be because of the ancient light. It should not be because of hitting the roof. I think legitimately it's not because of the roof here. I think it's just because of I didn't get the points that I told you I could get in that final section. We'll see. I will not go so fast. I guess I went too fast. I missed it. No, I missed. Also, there's a skip to just like fuck with gravity and allow you to run up this tree. It's crazy, and I never learned it when I was speedrunning this game. It felt a little outside of my skill level. Also, I already have as much points as I did last time when I reached the end. Last time I got 48, I think it was, plus whatever time bonus I got. Now I'm already at 52. I just wanted one extra kill here. Alright. I will try to show you guys what I mean by bonus points. It is here, I believe. Yep, see, free 1,000, and I just didn't get that before.
Yes.
Because I hit the top one, which apparently doesn't have any points attached to it. That sucks. I didn't get it because of that, pretty much.
Cool.
Unfortunate. Anyway, let's go to Pumpkin Hill now. Better. A little bit. Back to the cutscene.
This place sure feels haunted.
No time to lose. I have to hurry and find the Master Emerald. I'm just gonna creep. It's a floor, but it's also a ceiling. I know where that is. Wait, do I know where it is? Oh, here.
It's closer.
There's honestly too many that could be. Because I had no fear. Crazy graveyard theory. Approach me. No, it's right here. Here?
It's closer.
Yeah.
One more left.
You the chicken, don't be scared. Had to be the win, cause nobody wasn't there. Where is that gonna be at? Up here. It's any one of the fucking mountains can have this particular hint, I think. Oh, it's this one.
It's closer.
Sorry, I finished this game too fast. Even 16k.
Yeah, this is perfect.
I feel bad cutting off Pumpkin Hill, but like, I gotta. What's next? Not Route 101. Prison? Not Prison Lane. Mission Street, I think, right? He's gonna make an announcement. Sonic the Hedgehog is a... God, these kids looks like fucking... Ugh.
Now witness the beginning of the greatest empire of all time.
Cinema. Also, look at this 240p as video compared to the rest of the game being at least 480p. Also, I love that Sonic 3 just straight up used this again. Like, we knew it was gonna be Sonic Adventure 2 themed because of Shadow, but like, oh my god, it was crazy. I can't wait for Sonic 4. When's Sonic 4? 2027, right? Also, Eggman created Meteor. That's a Final Fantasy VII reference for you guys. Look! Half of the moon is gone?
Half of the moon is gone?
Eggman. Oh,
I don't know this specific cutscene, I don't know that well.
But how did he manage to harness all that energy?
it's got to be the Chaos Emerald.
He busts one out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's the reason they were looking for him. Tails?
The Chaos Emeralds are like magnets. They have the power to attract each other. I can use that to find where Eggman is.
Uh-oh, it's the cops, run!
I'll take care of the police.
Fucking run!
Way out of here. Find Eggman.
Got it!
Got it!
That means me.
Hey, wait! I think this is one of my favorite Tails themes. I think my actual favorite is probably Eternal Engine, but this is pretty good too. Get the booster. We use the boost to get through. Oh yeah, I still need to get Knuckles a Chowkey. Keep forgetting. Somebody remind me next time I'm in a Knuckles stage, which is actually right after this, because I get Aquatic Mine after this. Another banger of a song. If you think Pumpkin Hill's great but don't like Aquatic Mine, I don't know what's wrong with you. Pretty late, I'm start getting ready for bed. They're pretty often my favorite. Thank you for kidding you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy to have you too. Thank you so much for all the support. Hope to see you again even more this week. I will be live, trying to be live every single day. If I don't, I apologize. Wait, there's a skip there too that I remember learning when I was speedrunning this. View messages too and ignore them? I'm not gonna ignore them. I'll respond to them later, don't worry. I never really ignore anybody. I love how you can get pretty much every single upgrade in one playthrough except for Magic Hands, Tails is Mystic Melody, Knuckles is Mystic Melody. Is that it? And Tails is a Super Booster. Gotta brush your teeth? Please brush your teeth. Gotta keep them pearly whites pearly. Oh, fuck. I thought I was gonna land on the platform. Okay, speed run. That was very unfortunate. We're good. Also, you could always do that with the booster, but you lose out on like 600 points. You don't really need it though. This stage has a lot of enemies just in like really in close spaces. I don't know what the A requirements are, but like usually when I'm just playing through, I can kind of tell. There we go. Ah, what hit me? What the fuck? How did that hit me too? I don't usually get hit there. Okay, double okay. Rings don't matter, but I don't like getting hit. The hell did I hit there? Oh, I think I hit the balloon that was on the bottom that I missed before. Alright, now I'm gonna let this thing fall so I don't pretend I'm gonna land on it. Rig it. Wow, look how easy it was by waiting a half second. Like how it's like earthquake, hurry and run. It's like just jump. Just fucking jump. It should be an A. 21k sounds about right for the average time in this stage. But I'm at 1,000 rings.
I did it, Sonic!
All right, aquatic mine time. I think, right? My personal favorite Knuckles level. Even on top of Pumpkin Hill, surprisingly.
I didn't expect the inside of the mines to be like this.
This is gonna be tougher than I thought. First things first, ignore everything, get the power up. Let's take a dive in aquatic mine. Where is it at? It's over here? Where the hell is it? Oh, I passed it. Oh my god, there's one in here. Are you serious? I'm trying not to get any emeralds and there's gonna be one in here. Oh my fucking god, bro. I hate that. In the deep cut, seeing skulls that burn, they're trying to throw me off. Feeling kinda stuck. I'm in an narrow hallways, running like it's a ball game. Hand tracks be tracking me to different doorways in a maze, and I don't know what to do. Guaranteed though, I'ma find the emeralds. Don't call me Knuckles for nothing, I can't lose. Guardian of the Switch, is that up here? It is. How did I get hit? I was flying into him, thank you. Wooden box on the steel beam. I'm gonna drop this, but I think it's down here. It's not over here, okay. Based upon this, it's gonna be not in here. Over this one. But I'm the protector of the emeralds and gems. Again, you might be wondering, how do I know this? Honestly, based on vibes. Like, literally.
It's closer.
I missed. Sure beats fighting on the foes all the time, but I gotta do it, they always stay out of line. Sometimes I wanna just chill and lay, but I'm the protector of the emeralds and gems. Stay knuckled up in the deep cut. See skulls that burn, they're trying to throw me off. With my luck, I'm feeling kinda stuck. Don't call me Knuckles.
It's closer.
It's here? Oh, there you are.
I found him.
This should still be an A rank, but it might not be. Small chance. I think we're good. Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is perfect.
I don't think we'll hit any Knuckles stage not getting an A rank first try until Death Chamber, I think. I think even Meteor Herd I should be okay on. I think the Death Chamber is the only one I'm not gonna know right away.
Sheesh. There always seems to be a lot of police around when you don't need them. Tails, any news yet?
Any news yet?
For some reason, I'm not getting a signal from the 6 remaining Chaos Emeralds. Maybe Eggman took the emeralds into outer space.
Outer space? Knuckles!
Hey guys, long time no see. I must have got lost in the mines. Looking for the Master Emerald pieces was tougher than I thought it would be.
God, I fucking love Knuckles' voice, man.
Hey, where you going?
Where are you going?
I managed to find the transcripts between.
God, now we're in the part of the game that nobody expected. Tails chasing down the president.
Right now.
Fucking wild, bro.
If we get into the limo, we can trace the call to find Eggman.
Okay, let's meet up there.
Hey! Wait for me, Tails!
The president must be over there.
The president must be over
Let's
there.
go.
Let's go.
I don't know how to do this stage optimally either. I know like swerving actually gives you speed, but I'm not 100% on how to do it perfectly. Lag. Like actually lag. Am I lagging or just the game cut, by the way, guys? Did you see any lag or was it just the game? Get this? I missed. Somehow I missed the ramp that just automatically makes you jump. Should make a game where it's just this. I mean, they kind of technically did, right? With Sonic Crossworlds.
Tails, did you find the president?
Almost, Sonic. Just a few more minutes.
Like, if we're talking about specifically like this like story mode section of it, yeah, sure. But if we're talking about the kart racer, they did. There's apparently a way to control this thing backwards, by the way, like going like tails facing the camera. That. A rank, yeah. What do you guys think, by the way? Mask on or mask off? What's better? I like the mask on, but the mask off shows the lipstick. Hydrate, thank you. I actually haven't drank anything today.
Mr. President, reports show that since the incident 3 hours ago, the country is in turmoil.
Mask is sexy, I agree. Very concubine-esque, right?
An emergency meeting has been called.
Or dancer, I guess.
This is a national crisis.
Spare me the details.
Spare me the details.
What is it exactly that you want?
Just what is it that you want?
Dr. Eggman.
Dr. Eggman.
Well, let's just get down to business.
Fish with the short hair?
Mr.
Maybe.
President. I won't bore you with all the details since I know you are a very busy man.
No way!
My demands are quite simple. Surrender to the Eggman Empire and make no attempts to resist. Otherwise,
Otherwise,
your country will cease to exist.
I feel like the Eggman Death Ray or whatever it's called, the Eclipse Cannon, wouldn't just destroy the US, it would like destroy the entire upper crust.
what the heck's going on here?
Also, this is one of the only times you hear this specific rendition of It Doesn't Matter.
I got it! He's transmitting from the space colony Ark.
Okay, let's move it.
Wait up, Sonic!
Hey, you,
Mr. President, we're receiving an incoming signal from our agent.
By the way, their agent, Rouge the Bat.
Inside that pyramid?
I saw Eggman go inside the pyramid.
And more importantly, I saw that Batgirl go inside.
Batgirl go inside with him as
I like how
well.
he just says Batgirl.
Too, right?
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Be able to get into outer space from there. I don't know what this space colony is all about, but I'll find and destroy that cannon, and then kick their imperial butts.
All right.
Find the entrance!
Oh. Sudden music, what's the word? Emptiness? Open sesame. Alright, this stage is going to be all about how many combos I can get. Camera, please. Thank you. God, I fucking love Tails' themes, man. Just the random, like, almost theremin sounding. Alright, I forgot to get another fucking box for Knuckles. I'll do it on probably Death Chamber might be the easiest. Fuck. Literally got sucked off by that pillar. That's literally what I'm gonna call it. Tails has a very weird not glitch but quirk where he okay, now I gotta bait. Hope you get some more wealthy donors. I don't know if I'm gonna get any more oil barons coming in like you guys. But good night, beginning and enjoy work tomorrow. I will make sure to respond to your messages later. Thank you very much again. I appreciate it. Hang on. That's for you. as a thank you for all the subs. Enjoy work tomorrow though. Don't worry about they were horny. I mean, listen, people were going crazy in chat. I don't think your DMs are gonna scare me away. So, Tails' Mythic Melody is right down there in the bottom. But I can't get it because I need the bazooka. Mwah mwah. Slab of meat, what the hell? Prime rib? I could go for some prime rib. Maybe I'll buy that tomorrow. Is that a meat emo? I can't tell because my mix setup doesn't actually show it that well. Oh my god, I almost didn't double press the jump button. Sizzle, sizzle, bitch. Did I blow one up by accident? I did. How the hell did I blow those guys up from the bottom? I did it! How many emeralds am I at? 8 now, right? Because Pyramid Cave is 8? No. Pyramid Cave is 9. No, sorry. Oh, we're at 10. Oh! Split! Took 48 minutes for 10 emblems. And I love Pyramid Cave. It was one of the hardest stages for me to have perfected when I was speedrunning this game, but it was I like this stage. It's very easy to 100%, not 100% to A rank. But there's a lot of bonus points you get in this beginning alone. Missed. No. Sonic, please. Latch on. Gravity your ass. Perfect. There we go. I need a bounce bracelet for that, but that's okay. Ugh, I might not get an A rank there. I think I need the golden beetle to A rank after messing that up. Also, I love the little harmonica in this stage's song. I never learned how to super bounce, so I'm not gonna worry about it. At least not super bounce like properly. Plus, you get bonus points just for rolling on this. Sonic, please do what I want you to. Run! Oh, he got me! It's not not a harmonica, accordion. That's what I mean. Oh. Great, 300 points just for not having to take the rails on the side. This is one stage that I don't 100% get an A rank every time too. There's just a lot of points you have to get in this. And that's some of it. Oh, uh-oh. Fuck, I gotta start over because of that. But now I got the bounce bracelet so I can get everything here in the start. That sucks. I hate when I just get blasted off the edge like that. RNG's not on my side. Stay on the edge. Thank you, Sonic. No. Shit, that's a couple more points I messed up there, and a time loss. No. Alright, we should be better off here. Whee! How the fuck did he get me? Stop! Asshole. That ghost always gets you, man, unless you take it out early. Hole in one! I think I have more points here too, somehow. How do I have more points here? Alright, we're back to the spot that literally killed me. Well, that guy just shoots fast, that's what it is. I think that was the end of the stage too. Yep, we're done. Now the worst stage in the game, in my opinion. Even worse than that space.
That was cool.
I like how if you play this game in Japanese, by the way, if you get an A rank, he still whistles, but he goes, "That was tight." I'm like, yeah, it was, buddy.
Looks like we're heading toward the center of the base.
That egghead sure loves mechanical things, doesn't he? I'll bet he has 1 or 2 spaceships lying around here somewhere.
The door is locked. We need a key to get in.
No problem. We can find it. Right, Knuckles?
What? Why do I have to find the key?
We're counting on you, buddy. The world's greatest treasure hunter.
Alright, no missions yet. I gotta get... White dot indicates blue. I gotta get this first. What does that mean? White dot indicates blue. Oh! I know exactly what that means. It's talking about the minimap that's on in this stage. It's a very interesting hint. I like it because it means it's in front of the map.
It's closer.
I like that actually. That's a really good hint. I like that one. Usually I hate these hints, but that one was pretty good. Tilted picture. I think I know where that is too. Isn't that in green? I have to get another hint for this though, unfortunately. Room with 9 flames. Shit, that's back to blue? Not that one. Is that blue or is that red? It's not the center, I know that much. Oh my god, it is, but I'm gonna lose points because I accidentally tapped it. Over here? No? In here? No. I know this room has 9 flames, but where? I don't like this hint. This hint is a little too vague.
It's closer.
Oh, right, it said tilted picture. I'm stupid. I might be a little stupid. This one, I'm gonna start over. This was not gonna be an A because I got way too few points. 3 container brothers. This way? Yeah.
It's closer.
All over here. I'm the only one who's looking the other way. I think that's referring to the scarabs in the green room, I think. It's not there. Yeah, I think it's the scarabs in the green room. How do I know this? I'm taking a huge shot in the dark. But usually the scarabs are in the green room. Oh, I think they might be in the blue, actually. Shit. Go, 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 go. Don't touch that. Is it blue? Oh, it's blue. It's blue. The answer's blue. Blue. Java! Thank you for the raid, Java! Hi! The fuck?
Here I come.
The fuck? Excuse me?
Wax.
Is it above him? It's not above him. Is it the corner? Like the actual corner? It's the hard corner. Congrats on the debut. Yeah, you wanna see the full thing? Two Eggmans facing each other. No idea. Key ring is right on one side, key is right on the other. How are you doing though, Jama? I'm just playing Sonic because I want to enjoy. You don't want to do? Oh yeah, no, I just want to finish this stage. That's all I was gonna decide on. Yeah, I'm just gonna finish this. Shane's path to the blue room, so that's this way. I hate this. I picked the actual worst path to go. But what were you up to, by the way? Since I'm a little busy right now. Oh, it's here? It's you guys? Oh, wait, it's not. Huh? Oh, here. Beneficiaries Deltarune Chapter 3, 4, 5, 5 comes out. Is it 5 already out? Or is it this week? This is probably not going to be an A rank, by the way. My stream's been really good, yeah. Oh, it's still an A rank!
This is perfect.
I will pause once the boss starts, because I can't. This week, 25th. Oh, it's Thursday. The day after my birthday. I have not played any Deltarune. I should play Deltarune now that there's 5 chapters, actually.
Who's there?
What the? A ghost?
What the? A ghost?
And pause. Pause the timer as well. Okay. So you, like many others, get the full show. So we got the horns. Also, don't mind people stickies. They've claimed ownership of specific parts of my body. Got the horns, the little crown thingy, tiara kind of, what you want to call it, but not really. More of a headdress. And then you got the mask, which by the way does come off. I like the black lipstick, by the way. I can also go and then I might go a little fast on the titties because you know the boobies are gonna get me banned if I leave them on for too long. We got the little jewel, which will always, for the most part, be on my model. My second outfit doesn't have it, but there is a heart, so it's still there. And we got the boobies, which by the way have gotten a little bit of an upgrade, a little bit of a buff. People say nerf, but nope, they're buffed. Got the tummy as always. We've got my hands. Look at them hands. I can fucking stab you with this shit, man. And then we got my sensor bar from Pecunia. Thank you, Pecunia. And then the skirt. And we go up. We got the asymmetrical legging. And my feet. What do you think? Also, the wings are there. I just always take them off during stream. What is that? This is a liquor. Looks like you like the headpiece and everything moves. Yeah. One thing I kind of want to do is mess around with the VTube Studios like audio linking function and combine it with what's the word? Like a little jingle emote, like jingle sound, and attach it to like my headdress. Anyway, back to the game, back to timing. Also, I'm playing this game with a timer just to show you guys how long it takes me to 100% it. Because my data got deleted for some reason, I don't know why. So I'm just playing through the game. Nothing special, just play the game. I have to modify my Chow Garden like I had it before, because otherwise it will take literal days of playthrough time to actually finish it because of how long the Chow Garden, like real life time it takes. You want to hit him twice. If you can't one cycle him, you want to hit him twice and then twice the next round. Because if you hit him 3 times, he does like a really stupid attack in the final hit phase. So if you do this, he does the 2-hit phase, which is still kind of annoying, but not as bad. He does this, which is not bad. Go, 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 run. You don't want to go too fast because he just turns around. Anyway, John, I hope you're liking Deltarune. I've heard a lot of people say they love it so much. I've seen bits and pieces of it, not like a full unedited playthrough, so like I would still be blind for the most part. So like I want to play the game. I might play it once I finish up what I have currently on the backlog. Because right now I actually have for my subathon we actually just unlocked me playing Hollow Knight 100% true ending.
What
So that'll be fun. But anyway, John, if you got the raid and run, I understand. I know it's a little late most of the time, but thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the model. Thanks for everything. And I will be here for a little bit longer. Yeah.
Come and get some, Eggman.
Sonic!
Just leave it to
Ooh,
me.
I forgot this song has the lyrics in this song, or in this version, like this cutscene.
As well as the Chaos Emerald, I call on you to destroy these pests. Come off my side.
What I am the Eggman. I am the Eggman. There's like a way to super bounce onto his head, but I'm like, I don't really care. I'll take this thing slow. Again, I'm not very good at super bouncing, so if I fuck up, I don't want to just die. You can hit for a bit. Nice. Oh. Oh god. Very good. Does he do the head smash already? He does. He has not done the whirly gig, the rotation, thankfully, because that just wastes like 20 seconds of time. He's gonna do it right now though, because I mentioned it. We did it! Oh my god! Good RNG! Good RNG, baby! I never get this good RNG on this boss. Nice try, Rocky.
Nice try, Rocky.
Green light for launch. Primary engine ignition on. Beginning liftoff countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4,
Blast off.
2, 1. Shuttle liftoff.
Sorry, lift off. I never really watched this particular cutscene. It's kind of boring. Next cutscene's the funny one where Knuckles is just like, hey, where are the emeralds? Oh, we just left them in the back. Oh shit, we opened the hatch. I just realized this is the exact same song that plays at the end of the game.
So this is the space colony where Eggman is hiding.
Oh, it's the same cutscene. I didn't realize it.
What the?
Is everyone alright? We should be landing soon.
The hatch doors are open. Sweat it, Knuckles. The only thing in the cargo bay are those
What do you
master
mean,
emeralds.
don't sweat it?
Right?
Land the
Knock
shuttle
it
and
off,
let me
Knuckles.
Also, if a ship land or struck a fucking meteor, he would have died. Like he could have been avoided better. Yeah, I mean there are a bunch of animals flying a spaceship, so I'm surprised they made it even to the space colony arc.
What's up with that knucklehead anyway? Trying to take over the shuttle. I thought we were toast for sure.
Also, I like how Sonic and Knuckles are still not like friends in this game.
This place looks deserted.
Like they're friendly, they're working together, but they're still not friends. If you could kind of tell.
The first Bernoulli spherical space colony.
Bernoulli, what the fuck is
When
Bernoulli?
it was operational,
Hang on.
it was the most advanced research center of its kind. But
What is
looking at it
Bernoulli?
now,
Let me Google that.
Now it's an abandoned ark, wouldn't you say?
Not much
Bernoulli.
time left before Eggman fires that weapon again. We've got to hurry. Let's find the cannon and destroy it.
Oh.
Someone designed that weapon to be impenetrable from outside attacks.
So essentially, it follows Bernoulli's principle, which means that the faster you move a liquid, the less air pressure exists.
It looks like it, doesn't it?
So I'm assuming what that means is
I created after researching the real
you're in
emerald.
space, so they're
Same
utilizing
wavelength
quick moving liquid to like provide air pressure so you don't just fucking explode like you would if you were just in space without a spacesuit.
And blow up.
That's pretty cool.
It looks so real, even a machine can't tell the difference. I'll find the power supply and destroy
I forgot based on these cutscenes that he just uses the word Bernoulli. He's a fucking 8-year-old, by the way.
Chaos Emeralds when the machine is stuck, right?
Like I think Tails is probably maybe 10 in this game. Kind of nuts that he even knows what Bernoulli's principle actually is. Like he is a literal genius, but like that's kind of crazy. Anyway, my favorite stage of Tails is a particular set. The song is great. The aesthetic is awesome. There's a lot of platforming, a lot of enemies you can just murder. I didn't press the button fast enough, and I'm like glued to the wall there. I need to get a fucking Knuckles thing still. I keep forgetting. Last chance with Death Chamber after this stage. When I was a kid, 40% of the song from Knuckles, the Death Chamber, or no, sorry, Death Chamber, Meter Herd, it was in Collision Course. I mean, it kind of sounds like it would be, right? Like space theme, Collision Course. Also, the best way to take out those enemies that are like huddled in their goop is literally just what's it called? Run up to them and punch them. Oh my god, here's where the speedrun skip is, but I don't want to do it because I lose too much points. You gotta try not to shoot here so you don't fucking kill yourself. Uh-oh, that was a bad shot. We're good, we're good, we're okay. Here's where you get the bazooka normally. I fucked up by jumping. Oh yeah, I remember the first time I did this, I literally fucked up because what's it called? So I hit that bridge, by the way, and I think it's like even a clip on my channel still. The bridge collision didn't disappear. I literally just like cheated my way to victory on that one playthrough last year. You bitch, jump scared. Here's the random ass no gravity section that's in this game for some reason. No! Alright, we're good. Sorry, you just take your time there. You get so many fucking points because they just give you 20 combos. Sorry, 12 combos, which give you 2,000 points. I give it a 20 combo. A rank, right? Yeah.
I did it, Sonic!
Meteor Herd is next, I think. I think it's Meteor Herd, then it's Crazy Gadget.
Okay, Sonic!
Now put that emerald.
Tails, tell Sonic to meet you back at the research facility.
Sonic! Amy is...
I didn't get that, Tails. What happened to Amy?
Tails!
Tails!
Oh, that's actually kind of scary, man. Just like Amy is, and then you just don't get told anything else. Alright, ignoring everything here to get another power up for Knuckles before I actually play the stage. And we're at Meteor Herd. Did I hit? No, it didn't. That hit. I'll be honest, I never really liked Meteor Herd's theme because it's one of the other ones with the lyrics aren't really that singable. Cool. So we do this. Now we just start the stage over. I need a container doesn't float. I also need a box. It doesn't float. I think it's up top. If they're talking about floating, it means it usually has to be on top because that's where all the floating ones are at. Yeah, thought so. Here is where it was? No. Oh, it's over here where the group of them are at. This one.
It's closer. Two more left.
It's really funny how this is just only up the stage. The first stage. The fuck does that actually mean? How do I get up? I guess I just take the rocket again. First stage as in top or bottom? I'm gonna go up and assume if it's not up, I think I know where it is on the ground. I'm just assuming here, but I could be wrong. Feels like I am wrong. That's fine. I know where it would be.
It's closer.
How did I know? D1. You little shit. I need a box before I finish this stage, actually. Where's the nearest one? I forget where the boxes are in this stage. I think there's one here. Isn't it? No. Pumpkin is everyone's favorite. Actually, my favorite, I mentioned it. It's actually Aquatic Mine. It's up there, but I'm looking for the box before I finish. There we go. Wait, is it over here? No, it's over here.
It's closer.
Hey, excuse me. Thank you.
I found him.
Thank you for the hydrate. Should still be an A rank. I think so, maybe. Oh yeah, we're good.
Yeah, this is perfect.
Also, you guys ready to see speedrun of beating Rouge? Dude, it's actually really easy to beat Rouge. Before I learned anything about this game, like actually learned when I was like speedrunning it, first thing I did is realize how to beat this boss easily. Because usually it takes me like a minute and a half, give or take.
Treasure hunter. Did you find my
That's a good one. Your emerald? Talking to you is a waste of time.
Very well.
If that's how you want to play, I will take it from you. I will get one ring so I don't just get one shot by her. No! Where's she at? Oh, she's on the top. That sucks. I wasn't... Where's she at? Hiya! The answer is if you're good at it, you just spam A then B instantly to just literally jump dive in front of her ass and be invulnerable while you're doing it. But I wasn't good enough. Ready for the sexual tension, the video game? No one stops Knuckles. Stop fooling around and give me back my emeralds. What are you battling about? You call yourself a hunter, attacking a lady? Shame on you. What kind of lady goes around stealing gems anyway? Also, he is not fast enough. She would 100% have been burning by that point.
What in the world?
What in the world? Keep your hands to yourself. Don't touch me. Is that how you say thanks to someone who just saved your life? Saved my life. Don't think I owe you one. You just wanted to hold my hand, didn't you? That's why you saved me. You're such a creep.
This isn't a joke. Think what you want, Batgirl.
I was saving the Master Emerald. No matter what you say, it sounds crazy. What?
What?
Fine, then just take them. They stink like echidnas do.
If that's what you thought, you should have given me them in the first place.
Finally.
Finally.
What?
What?
I'm sorry if I hurt you.
If I hurt you.
We should get going.
We should get going.
I love that scene. It's just so simple. All right, Crazy Gadget. I could do the speedrun skip for this game, for this stage, and get an A rank. I don't know Crazy Gadget skip, which is like fucking wild. Like you skip a death plane, but I do know one of the skips in this stage. Like probably one of the first skips that was, I'm assuming, ever found for this stage, because it's really simple. Oh, that's right, I don't have Flame Ring yet, so I can't do everything that I want in this stage. Uh-oh. Oh. Like, it starts from here. Like, you do something here and you just go to the end of the stage. It's kind of wild. I missed, that's fine. I'll throw it on this cycle anyway. This song's also really short. 142 as the loop. Also, it's kind of funny how you get the flame bracelet, which allows your somersault, this move, to break iron crates, but for some reason it also allows your bounce bracelet to do it. It's kind of wild to think about. and a severely underutilized part of anybody's kit. Get it. Got it. Guys, get it. Thank you. Whoa, chill, Sonic, chill. Oh yeah, I don't actually need to do this, but I'll do it. Alright, time to skip this entire section. Need to figure out how to do this. I forgot the timing on it already. There we go. Now we just hold forward and we win.
Yes!
Oh, please tell me 20k is not the limit. Oh, thank God.
That was cool!
Ooh. Only 15 in an hour. It's slow going with the story at first. Oh yeah, this cutscene's long too.
Let's take care of business first, shall
We, Sonic? Hand over the Chaos Emerald slowly, and then we'll talk about your little girlfriend. That is, if you really care for her. Handing over the fake emerald? I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You've turned into a big-time villain, Doctor. Why is this quieter than usual? Hang on.
You've turned into a big-time villain, Doctor.
Hang on. Let's turn it up a little bit.
Whoa! You thought you could trick me with that fake emerald?
But how did you know it wasn't the real one? Tails? Because you just fucking told me, you idiot.
Fox boy.
Oh. He's fucking pogging like, how could I do that?
Now for a little space ride.
Console clears the Bonnie. Bam!
I'm counting on you, Tails. Amy.
Take care of yourself.
Farewell.
Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic! Also, you don't get this specific scene in the Dark Story. You just see it explode. So if you play the Dark Story first, you think Sonic just fucking died.
But can I do this? Farewell.
Look at that PNG-ass explosion.
Now we have some unfinished business to take care of. If you give me the real emerald, I will release you both. You have my promise.
Sonic!
Huh?
Aww.
Sonic is asking for the first time to do something for him. I won't let him down. I won't give up.
I agree. Alright. This boss walled me as a kid even to kind of learn how to manipulate it in a sense, and it's still fucking hard. Oh god, here comes the Raw level 3. Alright, we got it.
I did it!
Oh my god, just thinking about it in fighting game terms, it's so fucking funny. Just raw level 3, baby.
I feel some strange energy.
Sonic. Hey, Sonic.
Hey, Sonic. Whoa.
Somehow I managed to use the chaos control.
Chaos control?
I'm worried about Tails and Amy. I hate to ask, but could you help them?
This is our last chance. What time is it? I'm trying to think, should I do Dark Story or do that tomorrow? I think I'll do Dark Story tomorrow. I might do just get everybody's power-ups, maybe do some Chow stuff. Just to get it set up and like get my Chow named and like colored and stuff. No. Oh, I need gravity to fix here. I like doing this. It doesn't. I don't think it's faster than just doing the thing, but I like doing it because it's silly. It's like, oh, if you miss, you just fucking die. So I like how whenever you jump out of Sonic's somersault, he just does an actual like backward somersault. Technically a backflip, but not really, if that makes sense. There's so many shortcuts in this stage that I never really know how to do them optimally. Like intended ones, not like speedrun skips that people do, you know? Need to land so I can actually get the points, because if I skip it, I don't get these 500 points. Where's the Mystic Melody at again? I already forget. Here. Sonic? No. I'm dead. Alright, I'm gonna get the Mystic Melody and then reset because I lost my points. You never get to these games? Sonic games do not like you trying to go fast in them, that's the problem. Yeah, you see Sonic, he just refused to actually jump. But I should have been on the purple rail, not the orange one. That was my fault. Wait, is it not here? Did I fuck up? I did. Oh my god, it's not even here. Is it here? Oh, it is here. Yeah, that's what it is. I just fucked up. I just misremembered that. That's where the Chow is, not the Mystic Melody. That was actually entirely my fault. I could have just gotten that. without like just dying. Whatever, that's fine. My memory of this game is 99% perfect. Apologies. I missed the checkpoint. I do not want to fuck this up, so I'm gonna take my time. Just kidding. Mama didn't raise no bitch. But yeah, no, like not being good at this game is not a slight on you at all. Like most Sonic games do not want you to be fast. Plus, also, I played this game since it released on the GameCube, like specifically the Sonic Adventure 2 Battle portion. I never had a Dreamcast, so I never played the OG. Which is weird because it's a fantasy. Yeah, it's very weird because the fantasy of Sonic is he goes fast, but 99% of the time in Sonic games, you actually get punished for going fast. You know what's even funnier? If you go purely by pixels per second in like the original Sonic games and the original Mario games, Mario is actually faster. I forget if it's all Marios or just like Mario World Mario, but like in terms of speed, OG Sonic doesn't even beat OG Mario for the most part. And also this game is a pretty buggy mess as well. Like the fact that I'm doing this well at it is just a testament to how much I've memorized, like how janky and quirky the game is, right? Like that particular death, I could do nothing about. Like I could not fix that death no matter how much experience I had in the game. Also, that's the easier way to get the Mystic Melody. I just forgot about it. I forget if this gives me an A rank or not, like the specific route that I'm taking. Like, do I miss enough points to not get an A rank out of this? Like I played on the games, but yeah. Like I've played enough to know the quirks. Like don't do this specific attack here. Don't do this jump. Don't do this and stuff. Yeah. Sonic, please. I knew it. Because he fucking jumped instead of running. And it's funny because a lot of people think there's a bug in Canon's core as Eggman, because there is one. It's not a bug. It's an anti-cheat feature. Like if the game catches you cheating, in Canon's core Eggman section, you're just going to fall through the ground until you game over. Like you just cannot beat the final stage. Uh-oh, my game's crashing. Uh-oh. The game's crashing. Okay, we're good. We're okay. We're good. Like, stop game tracking. No, not stop game tracking. You just catch people that were trying to crack the game without knowing how to do it. I die hard.
You actually saved me, you know.
It was a Chaos Emerald, wasn't it? What There's no way you could have activated the chaos control using an emerald. That's fake. So, there's more to you than just looking like me.
What are you anyway?
What you see is what you get. Just a guy that loves adventure. I'm Sonic the Hedgehog.
I see.
But yeah, no, if like, you know how people leak like full copies of the game, right?
Days are coming to an end.
Imagine if like people leaking for full copies of the game this like today couldn't do it, right? And just like they leaked Tears of the Kingdom, right? Imagine they leak it and just because the game knows it's a fake copy, it just spawns like infinite like level 5 guardians or whatever. I never know how to do this fight optimally. Like most of the time I finish it in like about a minute and a half, give or take. Uh-oh. Like that's what I mean. Like they can't crack what specific like check the game itself is checking to make sure that it's a legitimate copy. Uh-oh. I jumped at him when I shouldn't have. Got him. I am the ultimate life.
Game over, Shadow.
There's also one with Sonic, not Sonic, Spyro 3 Year of the Dragon, by the way. Spyro 3 Year of the Dragon, if you fuck up and get a fake version, you can play the game normally.
Sonic, I did.
Nothing like weird happens. Whatever the fairy's name is, I forget her name, tells you like, oh, you might be using an illegal copy.
Awesome
You may experience unintended behavior or something like that. And then as you play the game, randomly, you'll just lose eggs. And most of the time it'll be eggs in the buddy missions because you need the buddies to beat the bosses. So by losing eggs in the buddy missions, you technically haven't cleared them in the game's mind, so it makes you go re-clear them. So it slows you down like that. And if you can somehow make it to the end, about like 30 seconds into the final boss fight, your game resets to the beginning, all your data's wiped. So like it lets you play up until the end with some quirks. Like you could do it, it's just really annoying. And then even if you make it to the end, you can never actually beat the game. Because like that fight, you cannot do it fast at all. I'm just living by my own feelings. Then won't compromise. Cause I only had a steadfast heart of gold. I don't know why. But I ain't out of control. This is not my way. Don't ask me why. I don't need a reason. I have my way, my own way. How much is left of the game? We're at 18 emblems out of 180, so 90% of the game. Give up the fight. Maybe 17. I think it's 17 emblems. Like honestly, like the beginning of the game is going to be slow because I'm watching the cutscenes. If I ignore the cutscenes, this would be over probably like 50 minutes because that's about how long my speedrun was when I did it. So like there's about an hour of cutscenes in this game, in this section. But like once we get all the stories done and get to the missions, it's gonna be blasting. Go to bed. Good night. Thanks for sleeping in here, Jama. Thank you again. Thanks for the raid. But yeah, there's 180 emblems in this game. I've done 17 of them. Oh, it doesn't matter. but I'm at this point. You like Desert Princess? Hi, Omachi. You like this Desert Princess? Also, by the way, this was done for Sonic's 10th anniversary. We're now at Sonic's 30th. No, 35th. But yeah, we are just under 10% of the way through the game. 35th, the Ultra just confirms, yes, this game is now 25 years old. This specific version, the Adventure 2 Battle version. Because I believe Sonic Adventure 2 was, what, 98? Maybe 99? But Adventure 2 Battle was, I believe, 2001. Actually, 2001. I love these, like, previews.
On an island to the south. The military's top secret weapon, Shadow. Sealed in the space colony Ark. The 7 Chaos Emerald. When all of the keys have been collected, world conquest will be ahead. Sonic Adventure 2. The Dark Side Story. Long live the Eggman Empire.
When they never came out the Chow game, they probably thought it wasn't. What's the word? What is the word? Feasible enough, I guess. Also, do you guys want to know a secret about this game? If you guys don't know it, so you can choose the main 6 characters. You can also buy Maria and buy Amy. If you spin the stick, I think it's clockwise. It might be counterclockwise, but I'm gonna keep doing it clockwise. You unlock the President's Assistant.
Would you like to customize the main menu?
Anyway, I'm gonna go for Rouge. I think it's a little silly Easter egg. You just get the President's Assistant. Anyway, let's get the last few. What can you do? It just becomes the voice that tells you what you want to do. What am I looking for? I'm looking for Tails' Mystic Melody, Tails' Blaster, Knuckles' Mystic Melody, and the Magic Hands. So let's go here. Funny thing is, the Blaster is one of the only power-ups that's not required to beat this game. Every other power-up in this game has some niche use. Even the Magic Hands, even though I actually never use it. Also, apologies if it's a little loud. Tails missions just get really loud because for some reason all of his sound effects are turned up to 11. Like Sega with good audio balancing, like name a match made in absolute hell. Oh wait, I didn't even have to break that because I gotta go down here. Specifically needed a bazooka from Eternal Engine for this. We have that. Now we need Knuckles' Mystic Melody, which is in Wild Canyon. Oh god, I forget which one specifically, because there's a lot of secret paths in this stage. But I forget which one specifically it is. I think it's the one up here. Yeah, I think it's this one that requires the hammer gloves. It is, right? No, it's not. That's the missing Chow. Again, this one's easy to forget just because there's so much. Okay, so I know which one it is then. It's one of these two? Which one? I don't know. This one is for the last mission. Wait, did I miss one? Oh shit, I missed one down here. Which one did I miss? It's not you. Am I just missing something? Am I a little stupid? I think I'm a little stupid. Oh wait, no, never mind. I know where it is. My fault. I forgot there's one over here. I always forget about this one over here because you only use it to get the Mystic Melody. And then it's Sonic's Magic Hands. Is that all I'm missing? You got Tails of the Bazooka, Prison Lane, which I believe is at the end of the stage, unfortunately. Just double check. Yep, it's at the end of the stage. And there's actually no way to speed up this specific stage. Eggman, you can actually speed up Iron Gate, but Tails, you cannot speed up this stage. Also, can you guys hear me through all the sound effects? Because I'll turn this shit down if I have to. I can see it's in the yellow right now. I can absolutely see it's in the yellow. Let me turn this shit down. Around there should be good. Yeah, it's in the green, but not hitting the top part. I don't care about how I beat this stage, I just care about beating it because Because the blaster, I forget what it's called. Energy cannon maybe? What is it called actually? Might just be called Blaster, actually. I always forget what their like energy cannon upgrades are called. Okay, with a double voice. Oh, head break. Wait, why am I trying to kill everything? To make it to the end again. You skip an entire section of that little area just by jumping, attacking something in the air. What is this called? Laser Blaster, fair enough. Anyway, we're done. And then it was Magic Hands, which also gets me City Escape A rank. Alright, this one I'm actually gonna increase the volume because now it's too quiet. When it's City Escape, listen, I'm turning that shit up.
Attention all units. Suspect seen heading south. Block all major roads and capture the suspect.
So I have to beat this and get an A rank. It's not just for the Magic Hands. Which I should be better off now that I have Light Dash shoes and the Flaming Bracelet. Because now I can get a lot more points in this stage. Specifically points by rings. I missed the life. Sometimes I can get both. It's just a specific jump you gotta do. Get that just to guarantee it with an extra few points. Oh god. Uh-oh, missed it. Missed it. You motherfucker. I could have given those enemies just to test it. Swear to god, if he shot me while I was flying up in the air, that would have actually pissed me off a little bit. Well, we're doing this again now. He didn't home to the fucking spring. Anyway, one more time for City Escape. One more time for City Escape. I can't miss those 500 to 1,000 points on that ram. There's 1,000. You know what's weird? So on any Sonic or any stage, right? If you get, it sucks. If you get all the rings in the stage, you get a guaranteed A rank, right? I remember explicitly as a kid. I can't really do it as an adult anymore for some reason because I've tried. So if you play through this game and get every single balloon, like one of those bubbles, and every single ring power up, not ring power up, ring reward from the midway point or checkpoints, I guess, not midway, but checkpoints, you end up with 424 maximum possible rings, right? I would somehow end up with 434. I don't know how. I would get more than there were theoretically rings in the stage. I don't know how. I've never been able to recreate it as a kid. I don't know if it's a GameCube only quirk, but I've been able to do it before. And it's not what's the word? It hasn't been repeatable for me. And it's not even like a false memory. Like I remember this shit. To the point where I think if I was able to get out my my OG copy of this game on my GameCube and put it on screen, you'd probably be able, you would see 434 as the maximum. I don't want to die anymore, so I gotta do this slow. They give you 800 points for doing that specific sequence that I just did. Yeah, missed a couple there, that's fine. Ooh. Alright, this should be better. I don't know if it's a guaranteed A, but should be better. I think 20k is the limit, right? Oh god, did I not get it? There we go. Might have been, actually I think it was 18k. I've seen a video of somebody doing this with like a what's it called? Like a mod that gives you the point totals or the time totals. Am I missing anything? Sonic power-ups. I have everything. Tails, I have everything. Knuckles, I have the air neck, which was like the only optional one he has, and the sunglasses. Mystic Melody. I think that's everything. Yeah. Okay. Let's go hatch some chows. Hopefully, one of them has good stats. Because usually chows have a high likelihood of having one of every rank, which is A, B, C, D, E. Sometimes, if you're lucky, they'll have an S. Yo, he has the grin! Nope, I don't want to do that. I want to check your stats. All right, buddy. If you don't have good stats, you're going to hell if you don't have good stats. Yeah, he has worse than average. He going in the trash. No, normal colored chows are very hard to get without a mod. So he still has use. Alright, second baby. So, worst case, if you close the game before leaving the chow garden, you don't actually save your data. Let me have you hatch over here. Maybe you like the water. Lyra, are you also invested in the stats? He's blank-faced. Alright, buddy. I keep pressing the button. Average? The worst thing possible here is he has E stamina. That's the one thing you don't want. I'm gonna re-roll this. I will 100% re-roll this. Why is my Steam not opening up? Did Steam crash? Did my Steam crash? My Steam might have crashed. I guess I gotta run this by default. Yep, it crashed. Uh-oh, VTube Studio is closing because everything crashed. Uh-oh. It'll come back up. Don't worry, it's fine. Don't worry, it'll come back. It's already back, actually. Lunch. Launch. The most forgotten character in Dragon Ball. Launch. Yeah, my Steam crashed. That's why. And whenever Steam crashes and you try to reset it, yeah, it just force closes every single Steam program you have open. I'll be back in just a hot second. Don't worry. There I go. My outfit's gone. Hang on. Fixed. Alright, we're good. Again, like I said, not much happened. Also, I'm leaving the timer running while I do this Chow Garden bullshit. That's part of the fun. Alrighty, try number 2. I honestly don't know if they're actually, if it is like the eggs are locked, but I like trying. I gave him a little bit more shakes. Don't shake the baby. Alright, buddy, are you still garbage? Uh-oh, he might still be garbage.
Don't worry, buddy.
He still has the smirk. I'm scared. If I have to buy a new egg to try and get better stats, I'm gonna be mildly perturbed. Yeah, looks like the eggs are locked. I always forgot if they allowed a reroll or not. I think these ones don't. I think if you buy it, it does, just because obviously when you buy the egg, it rolls the stats. But I'm assuming he's still gonna be like the average one of every stat chow. If that's so, I will have to buy another egg. Let's see, buddy, what you got? Also, one of them has to be hero, one has to be dark, because I have to unlock the 2 gardens as well. And the cups for the races. Alright, you got what I think you do? Yeah, okay, it's locked. Fair enough. Now, is there any egg for sale? You want to buy this baby? I'll take a blue egg. I don't think he wants to buy the baby. I almost threw him out by accident. God, the lobby seems so empty if you don't have, what are you doing up there, baby? He's gonna fucking drown because he's... What an idiot. What's wrong with you? Can't think of the other child? Nope, the other child was basic. One of every stat. I bought a blue egg and we're testing. Oh, he's just... Please be good. He has my favorite face. He has the smiley face. He has the happy eyes and the smiley face. I love this child. Please have good stats. Look at him. He's so happy. Please be good. Salvageable. He is the definition of mid, but salvageable. You are part of the group. Also, if anybody wants their name on one of these chows, first come, first serve. People that gifts the subs first, but I will wait until I actually get into the chow stuff before I decide, because you know, maybe I'll keep like resetting for eggs and getting better stats. But for now, what should I do? What time is it? 34. I don't want to do a little bit of gaming. I'll do Death Chamber. I remember seeing somebody play this game and not be able to get 100 rings in this stage without the back ring, which the back ring appears if you take damage or have already failed the A rank requirement. But I believe I've never needed it, so I'm surprised. Let me see what I can get. So let me see if I can get an A rank without using the back ring. I always forget if I needed like bonus rings or anything that people don't usually find. Oh, I know what I need. I remember how I do it usually.
All right.
$63 already. This is not where I wanted to go. I'm such an idiot. I forgot this path is an empty path. It's the other blue one I wanted to go through. But I also believe there's rings down here that I want to get. Yeah. Although it's funny how there's that chest down there. You can't open it because Knuckles can't punch anything. think the timer is 2:30, which I'm gonna get really close to here. Shit. I think I'm close, but I might not be able to get it. I was just testing to see if it's possible, and I believe it 100% is. I think I took a bad path, honestly. Because there's rings that spawn here. Yeah. I think this is a B, because I believe the time is 2:30 for this. If it's 3, I got it, but I think it's, yeah, 2:30. I took a wrong path. The answer is go red, blue, red. Ignore green. Red, blue, red, red into green, I believe it is.
Decide which stage to go to.
Or it might be red into blue. Like, immediately walk into blue. And then use the blue to go center. Maybe that's what I do. Like this, I think. We got it. No, don't shoot me, motherfucker. Oh wait, I don't even have to do that. I'm such an idiot. Now we're here, so we got this active. Grab these now. I think I have enough to get just to the center and we're done. Yeah. Oh, wrong way. Yeah, I think there's definitely 45 in this main room. Actually, there's not. So I do have to go to green for the end. Oops, I forgot green's down here. I think I'm good though with just this room. Yeah. Oh my god, I'm not. One ring, one ring, one ring. One ring to rule them all. Okay, here we go. 2004 rings!
Decide which stage
you know what? Let me end at 20 emblems. Memorizing this game is fun. Because you can just be like, oh, I know where this is. Also, I didn't realize that's upside down. Swinging in this game kind of sucks, I'm gonna be honest. Also, this song just does not have the lyrics that belong in the game, because Knuckles goes, Sonic, what are you doing here? You know, like, oh, you know, we're trying to what the fuck? What am I doing? Did I fuck up? I think I went the wrong way. You know, I heard you're looking for the pieces of the Master Emerald. And then it's like out of nowhere, he's like, I think we should team up. And then one of the lyrics is just, you're damn right, Knuckles. I forget what the actual wording is that causes him to say it, but I think it's really funny. Oh my god, I missed because I was on the platform instead of on the regular floor. There we go. Please tell me that didn't fuck me. Oh yes.
Yeah, this is perfect.
Oh, my shoulders. One more, I think. Oh yeah, one more. Should I do City Escape? I'll do City Escape. I think honestly what I should do is every day I should do one new mission of City Escape. Just to end on the fucking banger that is City Escape. This one will not last very long, maybe like a minute. Especially if I get nope the bottom, not the top. Also, Lyra, by the way, wow, speak up. Did you say your computer crashed? My computer almost crashed today. We're twinning today. No, oh, by the way, guys, I've never talked about it today, but so the reason why I had to restart my computer before stream and it caused me to be like 10 minutes delayed. So it's very it's very, what's the word, repeatable. So every now and then, so now I've started to edit my VODs just to get rid of the intro, like the 10 minutes that I do before ads, right? And exporting takes a lot of computing power. Usually where if I do, I think more than one video at a time, it just makes my computer lag. So yeah, that's why I redid my computer to get rid of that. Anyway, we're done for now. I will finish up for now. We are at 2:16. Hey yo, nice muffin. Hi. While we're here, I will give you guys one final look. Hang on, give me a second. I need to save these splits. Okay, get rid of that. We will go. Sorry, I'm trying to move, but everything's kind of like. Why is my? I just realized my things. My model's been cut off a little bit. I know why that happens. But we're good. We got it. Let me go over here. I will give anybody who's here one final look at it while we disappear. Sorry, before we disappear. Alrighty. So, for anybody who was not here at the beginning, here's your nice close look at the new outfit. Why is my thing off? Did I take it off and never put it back on? My stream deck is kind of lagging. Give me a second. Sorry, I can just take it off manually, but my stream deck was just like busted. I mean, like actually busted. Why is it so laggy, bro? It's because I have way too much shit open that I don't usually have open, so give me a second to just close everything. Alright, we should be okay now. Yeah, looks like it's fixed. Okay, anyway, for those of you that are brand new and did not see the outfit, for those of you who want to see it again, We got the horns and the little tiara type thing, headdress, with nice little physics, by the way. I love how Jupiter did it. And then we go up, and we got the little, yeah, we got the heart, neck wear, I guess. I don't know what this is called. And then the titties, of course, have been claimed. So sorry, you cannot claim the titties. I guess technically you can still claim the nipple, if that makes. I don't know. Anyway, we go further down. We got the tummy showing as always. We have the crotch sensor again from Pecunia. And then we got them thighs for days, the little thigh peak right here. We keep going, we got the little shoes. Anyway. We will be done for now. Yippee! I fucking love that emote so much. Anyway, thank you guys so much for all of the gift subs that you guys gave today. Like, I appreciate it. And hopefully you guys enjoyed that it was on discount too, so you guys didn't have to pay too much. So I will cross things out and post that on Discord. We've so far earned the sneak peek, which you guys already got. The tier list, which I'll probably do sometime this week or next week. You guys need to choose a channel point, redeem, pick designs for the new art commission. Safe for work. I gotta make channels for this too, so don't worry about it. Pick a new sound alert that you guys can make me put on, whether it's one you guys want to make / ask for, or it just, I don't know, something I said. I don't know. You guys can pick a tweet for me to write, which again I'll make all of this on Discord probably after I relax tonight before bed. We have a week of punishment wheels, which I think I'll do next week. So this week we'll just do Sonic, and then next week we'll probably do the punishment wheel week. We got the Lego hand cam, which I will probably do in like a double feature of like the Lego hand cam, and then the next day will be the TCG opening hand cam. So I'll probably do both because I got my TCG cards yesterday, by the way, so I got everything that I need. So maybe I'll do a hand cam sometime this week. We got Hollow Knight 100% that got unlocked, and we are on our way to playing a game in Spanish with V voice acting as much as I can. Thanks for the stream. No, thank you guys for being here, like legitimately. It means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting me. Thank you guys for supporting this nice little outfit that I decided to get. As much as, like, yes, there's not really a lore behind it, I just kind of liked it. Thank you guys. So I will be back tomorrow with more Sonic. Around the same time as usual. Maybe a little bit earlier. I don't know. We'll see how I'm feeling. But besides that, I'll catch you guys tomorrow, okay? Have a good night. I know the ad's going. The ads will be done by the time my outro is done, so catch you guys later, okay? Bye!
Thank you.